Hey, I want to talk about something that you may or may not be interested in. I hope you are, and if you're not, then hopefully I can convince that you ought to be. The reason being that there's a well-known saying that goes, as America goes, so goes the world. I know many don't really care about the coming US election, not over here in New Zealand, that is. But the thing is, it's only a matter of days away, and I can assure you that it will not only affect our lives personally, but it will also affect us as a nation. New Zealand is closely linked to America more than what a lot of people know. For example, we are part of the Five Eyes. And you may also know that New Zealand and America are the only two countries in the whole world where pharmaceutical products are allowed legally to be advertised publicly. And of course, if Bobby Kennedy has his way, we will be the only one. I think about this. Big Pharma, they advertise their products publicly on television and so forth, and the drugs are advertised to you as a consumer, but they can't be bought by you. They normally have to be bought through a prescription by a doctor. So the question is, why advertise to you? I'm not sure who else advertises to an audience that they cannot sell to. Is it that Big Pharma are actually paying billions of dollars, particularly in America, in advertising that is actually like blackmail or insurance money to the media to further their own agenda or propaganda? I mean, who do you think pushes the agenda? Think about what happened just a couple of years ago. How biased and how crooked was that? Billions of dollars were made, and it's ongoing. Let's be honest, if they can get a person on medication, they got a client for life. But with all the false misinformation in our news, it's so well known and reported in the mainstream media themselves that they're actually losing all their viewers, going broke, because you cannot fool all the people all of the time. If it wasn't for Big Pharma advertising propping them up, they would be gone by now. And as I mentioned, it's particularly in America, which is far worse than here in the advertising. But we all know that the mainstream media, unfortunately, now cannot be trusted. They're just not bringing us the truth. They are not reporting the news. They actually are making the news. Just as like in the Stuff News reporter this week was when reporting on the recent Trump rally at Madison Square Garden, which, by the way, was an incredible, successful rally, and more on that later. But she reported, it was just another Trump rally, just as expected, filled with crude and racist remarks. Now, admittedly, the so-called comedian Tony Hinchcliffe should have been left off the speakers list, and he said things that he shouldn't have said. But apart from him, the night was brilliant. Yet all the New Zealand reporters could do is bring up the one negative. And I digress for now, but in listening to Kamala Harris, are we not sick of hearing the same line? I was brought up in a middle-class family. Now, that is a stock standard answer that Kamala gives to every question that she's asked. And it seems that just as she lied about McDonald's, working at McDonald's, maybe she wasn't brought up in a middle-class family after all. If you listen to Candace Owens, who seemingly has proof of that is not the complete truth. By the way, I sure hope that New Zealand is not as stupid as Australia to ban Candace Owens' visit. You know, the misinformation and biased liberal press media tries to falsely tell us that Candace is a dangerous, she's anti-Semitic, she's a Holocaust denier. And I've mentioned many times that most are now catching on our mainstream media that are just so biased, so unfair. They twist things that are said. They take sound bites out of context. I mean, that reporting about Candace Owens is just an attempt to silence another conservative voice who's endeavoring to hold on to conservative values and freedom of speech, among other things. She's neither anti-Semitic or Holocaust denier. She's like a lot of people who are concerned about the death toll in the Middle East, but I digress again. So back to Camilla and her word salads. Seriously, I'm at a loss to see how anyone of the land of the free could vote for this unelected presidential candidate. And I have to say, I've listened to way more than most, but she was the most unpopular vice president ever in history of the States. She never won a primary. She's like an unelected candidate. She never did a thing as vice president. And talk about democracy, by the way, but even though she was in charge of the border, known as a border czar as such, she's allowed millions, the lowest figure being 10 million, maybe the highest figure, 25 million, illegals to cross into the United States. Not only that, but giving them all cell phones, money, health care, flying them to different cities around the States. What a mess it is. And with gangs taking over apartment complexes and the beautiful small towns of America. One beautiful, tranquil town, Springfield, was 60,000 people. Now it's been inundated with 20,000 immigrants. Think about the ratios of that. Some say 30,000, but then, you know, she is stupid enough to say that she would not have done anything different over the past 4 years, and that includes the botched up pullout of Afghanistan. And let's be honest, that was just absolutely horrendous. She wants to give all the aliens legal status, citizenship as well. Myself actually having a son and his family living in Texas working on a visa, I'm not sure if you know how hard it is, how long it takes, and how much money to get into the States legally, let alone become a citizen. Well, let me tell you, it's years and tens of thousands of dollars. With Camila going, he should have just walked across to Mexico, but I digress. With Camila going on from being what was widely acknowledged as the most unpopular vice president ever to the so-called darling of America in just a couple of weeks, that just shows you the power of the press, the power of the machine. It's the same as what they did here with Jacinda Ardern just a few years back. But you know, the darling of Camila is now fading into what people see, that she has no idea what she's talking about, no idea about anything. And note how the media, by the way, is now turning on Elon Musk, a man who not that long ago was hailed as a hero. But now Elon, because he's mega, and as he says, dark mega at that, he is now a villain. In fact, the media are saying, well, he was or is an illegal alien. Incredibly, in the debate between Trump and Harris, and admittedly it was not Trump's best debate or best performance in that so-called debate, the moderators fact-checked Donald Trump many times. Some say up to 15, and at times they falsely fact-checked him, but never once did they fact-check Camila. For example, she stated that there are no USA troops currently serving overseas. Now, she either lied outrightly or she is incredibly ignorant and has no place being the commander-in-chief. Even I know they got troops in Syria and other places around the world. There are thousands of troops deployed overseas in a number of countries. Then she asked if Trump gets into power, because she's talking about it, there will be, by Trump's own words, he says, a bloodbath, endeavoring to say that he would turn on his opponents. Yet both she and the moderators knew that that was a soundbite taken when Trump said that if Harris got into power, there would be a bloodbath in the automobile industry. You know, all this rhetoric about him rounding up and jailing his opponents and the decriers, people like On The View, Whoopi Goldberg and her friends. Wow. And although they should be brought to account for all their lies and the rhetoric they've told, but think about it. When Trump gained the presidency last time in 2016, he could have put Hillary in jail because she deserved it, by the way. And Clink, right? Get it in any case. She destroyed thousands of classified documents, which she had illegally sitting on her personal computer, which is a national criminal offense. But Trump didn't. As he said, he did not believe it would be the best for America, putting the wife of a former president in jail. Yet the left have done nothing but continue to prosecute him, attempting to put him in jail. And even Biden the other day, he said, lock him up, you know. But if that does not work, allow someone to take a shot at him. You know, the States is becoming or has become like nearly a banana republic. And that is what they do, of course, in these third world nations and in dictatorships. They jail or assassinate their opponents. to just inform you, and whether you agree with Trump or not, the left, that doesn't matter. You shouldn't be wanting to put them in jail and bringing all these court cases against them. It's just ridiculous. And just to inform you, if you didn't already know, our biased media, they will not tell you, Camilla is advocating not only for state-paid sex changes for prisoners, but also for state-paid sex changes for the illegal immigrants. And sadly, from my perspective, she is also advocating for late-term abortion under the guise, of course, of women's reproductive rights and health care. Abortion, let's be honest, is the evil killing of babies. Of course, is her big thing, which is the issue that she's actually campaigning on. How sad is that? Really, the only policy she has, along with endorsing that schools do not have to inform the parents regarding their own children's sexual identity, giving the kids puberty blockers without parents' consent, etc. The USA is in huge trouble if this socialist gets into power. Can you imagine Camilla negotiating with the Russian and the Chinese? I could say, tongue-in-cheek, what a laugh that would be. But I'm sorry, but she's a shocker. I won't bore you with the word salads like I'm burdened by what might have been. I mean, or everybody needs to be woker or wokest, more woke. She goes on and on. I don't even want to talk about her running mate, but if you don't think there is something seriously wrong with Waltz, your discernment needs an overhaul. A man who advocated putting tampons in boys' bathrooms in schools. Now, apart from being a liar like Camilla, he was found out about his active duty claims, his false claims, and also about his false claims about being in China and Tiananmen Square on the day of the massacre. And he's had to confess and say, well, he got that wrong. There's just something seriously wrong with him, and I have to say also with her. Yet our media here in New Zealand continue to promote them and, of course, de-promote or demote you-know-who. Even the photos of Trump and Harris they put up on our news, they always have Kamala Harris smiling away there, and they have Donald Trump looking so angry, just like they have done with Brian Tamaki over the years. The media is so biased. They know that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Then it was reported on our News TV1 this week how Beyonce was going along to a rally and is endorsing Camilla. And then they went on to say that Donald Trump was 3 hours late, kept people waiting at a rally because he was doing a podcast, and they cut it there. They did not go on to say who the podcast was with. It was only with the largest podcaster in the world, Joe Rogan. And by the way, it was a great podcast, a 3-hour fireside chat. Another media actually called it a rambling podcast due to its length. And yet, amazingly, most of these successful podcasters, and they're taking over the mainstream media because people can listen for themselves and people aren't stupid, but these successful podcasters like Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, Jordan Peterson, Candace Owens, among many, are all over an hour, often 2 hours or 3 hours. And apart from Joe's language at times, the interview was great. But the mainstream media hated it. And they did not report, and what they did not report was that the majority of people that went to Kamala Harris's rally with Beyonce went really only along to listen to Beyonce sing. And yet when she only spoke for 3 minutes and then walked out, left, didn't even stay and listen to Camilla, but left without singing, people streamed out in their droves. They were very upset, but the media didn't report that. New Zealanders don't understand that often well-known, brash, boastful, seemingly arrogant attitude speech of the New Yorker, from whence Donald Trump, of course, comes from, and his manner can rub people up the wrong way. I get it. But Dr. Phil at Madison Square Garden summed it up by saying he may not agree or like everything that Donald Trump says or does, but the choice is clear. It's not that democracy is over if Trump gets in. The truth is that democracy is in great jeopardy if the current Democrats get back in. The absolutely crazy talk of Trump being a fascist, even Hitler, as Kamala, Biden, Obama, Clinton are all going on about. Think about it. It was only a couple of weeks back with the 2 assassination attempts on Trump's life that there was a call to dial back the rhetoric. Yet the opposite has happened. They have all ramped it up. It's the only strategy they have. and to decry Donald Trump as dangerous, deranged, unfit. Camilla is even saying now that he does not have the stamina to be president. I mean, how ridiculous when she's the one taking days off and he's going for it day and night. She does not and cannot talk about her own policies because she doesn't appear to have any. She just says to and refers people to a website. She's actually backflipped on everything she stood for once and endeavoring to be more come across to the center from the far left from which she sits. She's even adopting a number of Trump's policies, like she's now for fracking, which she was totally opposed to, of course, and has adopted his idea of no tax on tips. Well, all she can go on about is how bad and dangerous and evil Donald Trump is. Let's not forget that he was president for 4 years and did a great job, even under pressure, like the Russian collusion attack that was and has been proven to be completely false. And it was started by Hillary Clinton. Where's the press apology for that misinformation and all that rhetoric we put up with for 3 years? He's not the only president candidate, by the way, that has challenged an election. Hillary Clinton actually did herself. What a hypocrite she is. And the famous one was Al Gore and George Bush. Well, the obvious thought is this. If he was the dictator that the Democrats say that he is, he would still be in power, for he would not have relinquished it 4 years ago. Hillary Clinton has this past week tried to draw the parallel between Trump and Hitler due to Trump holding a massive rally in Madison Square Garden. The parallel, she says, is because in 1939, there was a fascist rally held there in support of Hitler. But come on now, there have been obviously been numerous rallies, concerts held there over the past decades. In fact, Hillary Clinton herself held one there as a senator, and her husband, Bill, accepted the Democrat nomination there. The crazy thing is both Hillary and Bill Clinton, they were actually at Donald Trump's wedding to Melania. But now he's Hitler. Give me a break. And by the way, Tucker, Elon, Dr. Phil, Tulsi Gabbard, Bobby Kennedy, and others gave great speeches at the Madison Square Garden. They say, well, obviously there are 20,000 people packed inside. You can see that. And Sky News reported that there are 75,000 people outside. There's been no bigger political candidate rally. The media mock Trump for asking, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Which is a very good and fair question. The obvious answer for the American people is no. Yet all the media and the left can do is rubbish Trump for asking the question. He lost the last election in 2020 by 22,000 votes, they say. Now think about it. Do you know how many dead people voted in that election? The ballot harvesting and the mail-in ballots? There was obvious fraud. That has been proven. There's never zero fraud. The question is how much? Was it 22,000 votes? But the biggest scandal is that the FBI knowingly lied a week out from the election saying the Hunter Biden's laptop was another Russian hoax when they knew all along it belonged to Hunter Biden. That was a direct directive from the White House that they say, now listen, people say if people had known that was Hunter's laptop, that would have affected the election outcome without a doubt. Think about this also. In many states, the Democratic states, you do not need an ID to vote. You can mail in a ballot. All the illegals could walk in and vote. I mean, it's just crazy. The bottom line, the reason is all this craziness is that the globalists, the powers to be, do not want Trump to be president, as they cannot control him like they do others. The World Economic Forum were so troubled about and were discussing what will they do if Donald Trump becomes president. You know, he will not play their game of globalization and think about whether it's NATO or whatever. But, you know, and I hope he won't. Not like Trudeau, Ardern, Macron and others, and of course Harris. All I can say is watch this space. We're just days out. And I know it's just crazy. Anything could happen. And it probably will. God bless you all.